Late at night, the White House released a statement that immediately sent a shockwave through the intelligence community. America's top spy and the president were locked in a quiet dispute over a potential war in the Middle East. Tulsi Gabbard, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, announced she was unexpectedly stepping down from her post. The official reason she provided was tragic and deeply personal. Her husband, Abraham, had just been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer, and she needed to step away to care for him. But inside Washington, a very different story began to leak. Unofficial reports pointed to a targeted pressure campaign from the Oval Office, suggesting she was actually being squeezed out of her role. To understand why the administration sidelined its own intelligence chief, we have to look past the resignation letter and examine the hidden conflict she was actively trying to prevent. From the start, Gabbard was a highly unconventional choice for the position. As a Hindu-American trailblazer who frequently referenced her faith, she built a reputation as a political outsider willing to cross party lines. Her perspective on foreign policy was forged directly on the ground. After serving combat deployments in Iraq and Kuwait, she returned home as a fierce critic of endless military intervention. That rigid anti-war stance made her a curious fit for the Director of National Intelligence. The American government created the DNI immediately following the September 11th attacks, specifically because different agencies had failed to share critical security information with each other. This diagram shows a hub-and-spoke layout of that system, where the DNI sits directly at the center of the intelligence apparatus. It has massive bureaucratic power, overseeing and unifying 18 different agencies, including heavyweights like the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI. The entire system is designed to act as a single funnel of truth. All that raw data moves to the DNI, who coordinates the findings and advises the president directly on national security threats. Her appointment immediately drew intense internal criticism. Former officials pointed out her lack of traditional CIA management experience and questioned her past meetings with foreign dictators. Once in office, she aggressively downsized the intelligence bureaucracy, firing staff and restructuring agencies to dismantle what she and the president viewed as a politically biased system. Dropping a staunch anti-interventionist into the very center of the military intelligence complex created immense friction. Eventually, those competing ideologies were bound to collide. The fracture happened over Iran. The Trump administration began taking an increasingly aggressive, hardline stance against Tehran, ratcheting up tensions in the region. The White House argued that Iran's ongoing missile and nuclear programs posed an immediate, catastrophic danger that required swift intervention. Gabbard looked at the same intelligence and arrived at the exact opposite conclusion. Her internal assessment stated clearly that there was zero immediate evidence of an active Iranian nuclear bomb threat. She wasn't an outlier in this conclusion. Her reports directly matched the external findings of the International Atomic Energy Agency, which also reported no proof of a weapons program. This conclusion completely infuriated the White House. The president and his closest advisors found themselves stonewalled by their own intelligence chief, who flatly refused to rubber stamp their justification for conflict. By holding firm on the data, Gabbard effectively blocked the administration's legal and political pathway to a preemptive strike. In doing so, she guaranteed her own exit. The administration rapidly isolated her. Hawkish allies within the cabinet completely sidelined the DNI, cutting her out of critical foreign policy discussions. The irony of her brief tenure is striking. The president originally hired her to strip political bias out of the intelligence agencies, yet she was forced out because she refused to twist the intelligence to support a political goal. While her husband's tragic health diagnosis ultimately dictated the sudden timing of her announcement, the overwhelming pressure from the West Wing made her departure inevitable. Her exit sends a clear warning signal down the ranks. When an intelligence chief is squeezed out for refusing to bend the facts, the officials left behind face immense pressure to simply give the Oval Office the answers it wants. We have decades of historical data showing exactly what happens when leaders shape intelligence to match predetermined war policies, rather than shaping policy to match the intelligence. It predictably leads to disastrous, drawn-out conflicts. The Director of National Intelligence exists to tell the president uncomfortable, verified truths. When the drums of war get so loud that the Oval Office stops listening to its own spies, the entire system breaks down.